What is up, guys? PI Podcast here. We're coming at you remote. We've got the new overlay, the new logo. We're gonna kick us off with episode 2. My name is It's E&D, along with Bull Mascot. How you feeling, Bull Mascot?
I'm feeling good. Our first podcast was awesome. We had a lot of fun doing that, and it was just a lot of fun.
We had some good comments, so we're gonna kind of kick off with some of those comments. We appreciate you guys viewing the video. Appreciate the couple subs we got, the followers we've gotten. So we're excited to do episode 2 now. So we're gonna kick it off with Tom Brady. He's given a little bit of mixed emotions on his retirement.
Yeah, Tom Brady, he says he retired, but at the end of the day, you never know because Tom Brady is Tom Brady. If he wants to come play football, he'll play, but at the end of the day, he's rumored to be going to the 49ers, but he's retired, so I'm not sure if that's going to happen.
Yeah, it's gonna be kind of hard because the Buccaneers still technically own him. So they'd have to, in my opinion, have their quarterback situation figured out before letting Tom Brady walk. And at the moment, there's nobody in the draft. You have Kyle Trask and Blaine Gabbert, and Bruce Arians has said he trusts Blaine Gabbert, but I mean, when you have the option at Tom Brady coming out of retirement and going to someone else in the NFC, do you just hold on to him?
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting situation because there's a lot of teams this year that need a quarterback, and some that are trying to get rid of their quarterbacks, like Jimmy
Yeah,
G on the 49ers and things like that. So it's kind of really interesting to see how these teams deal with their quarterback situations.
correct. Speaking of Jimmy G, there's a lot of Steelers fans out there that would love to see Jimmy G in that gold and black uniform. Um, I the GM has came out and said that he does trust in Mason Rudolph, but as fans of football, Mason Rudolph is not the guy.
I don't think Mason Rudolph's the guy. Yes, he showed some things, but at the end of the day, he's gonna be a backup quarterback, honestly. And there's nothing you can really
Yeah,
do to change that. The Steelers had a good legendary quarterback that played for them for a good amount of years, but Mason Rudolph is not the guy, and I think they should be one of the people looking for Aaron Rodgers if he wants to trade as well.
that would be big because the Steelers, they have the defense, they have good weapons on offense, they have a decent offensive line. It's not as good as it used to be, but it's good enough. And they have Mike Tomlin and Brian Flores on the defensive side of the ball. I think it'd be a good fit.
Yeah, Jimmy G on the Steelers. I think that might just work out because of how good their defense is and how much better it can get. You already have TJ Watt on the line and a decent pass rush coming along, and you also have a All Pro safety in Minka Fitzpatrick, or even getting better to All Pro Minka Fitzpatrick, and he's just a solid safety. And you just have some pieces around as well. You could easily get the Still Curran back if they had some key pieces
Mhm.
there.
That's 100% correct. Along with on the offensive side of the ball, Jimmy G doesn't have to be a hero. He's got Najee Harris, who's going to be an amazing running back in this league, especially when you've got guys like Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, who can't finish out the year. Najee Harris is going to be one of them top 5 running backs next year.
Yeah, if Jimmy G went to the Steelers, he has a lot of weapons. Juju Smith, Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, and he just has those that trio wide receivers are really good. They almost came back against the Vikings. I was about to go
I know.
crazy if they came back against that Vikings game. If they came back, that was just insane. And towards the end of that half of the season, you could tell they're kind of like a second half team. They'd be horrible in the first half and like actually show up in the second half, which is kind of weird. But Ben was declining and stuff like that, so that's how that turned out.
Yeah, it's hard to really judge the Steelers because we know they have a lot of talent, um, but we didn't get to see all the offensive talent with the way Big Ben played. And I know he was wanting to finish out that last year, and he had a hell of a career, really. But I mean, now we gotta get a quarterback there that can take them deep into the playoffs with the way the AFC's shaping up now.
Yeah, and you talked about Mason Rudolph not being the fit, same as me. Neither of us think he's a good fit, and honestly, if he started, I think he would end Mike Tomlin's streak of winning seasons throughout his whole career. I think that'd be his first
One
losing
hundred percent.
season. Yeah,
Yeah, I think the team around is good enough to win games that are close, but Mason Rudolph isn't going to lead a 2 minute drive if they're down three to get them into field goal range to tie it or take the lead. I don't see that happening, especially with how good that division will be next year. I think a lot of people forget that the Ravens were decimated with injuries, especially at the beginning of the year. I think the Ravens are going to come back strong. The Browns also kind of a QB needy team if they don't re-sign Baker Mayfield, but they're an extremely talented team that could go far if they have a halfway decent quarterback.
yeah. Talking about the Browns and that Baker Mayfield situation, Baker Mayfield's such a big part of that organization, and we talked about in the last podcast that we think that Baker should be able to play because he injured his shoulder, and to have the
Mhm.
fans go down on him so much, it's kind of messed up. Seeing how bad that quarterback situation was in Cleveland, but bringing it back to the Cleveland perspective, if you guys haven't checked out our TikTok, go check out our TikTok. It's PI Podcast on TikTok. And we talked a lot about a lot of things that happened during the week as well, and stuff that we won't get to talk about until our next podcast, if you guys are watching our podcast. So Jarvis Landry, one of the things he made a statement saying he doesn't know if he'll be in Cleveland or not, but he would be happy to stay in the organization that Cleveland has, but also he'd be happy going somewhere else and winning a championship with another team.
Yeah, I think with him, he likes. I mean, he loves the organization. I think he's also one of them guys that wants to be recognized as a top wide receiver in the league, and he definitely has the potential. But if him and Baker Mayfield aren't on the same page, which again, Baker Mayfield was injured this year, so it's really hard to judge his performance this year. Um, but they also have a really good running game that can pull defenders off wide receivers. So he should have a breakout year this year with the Cleveland Browns if he does stay.
Yeah, I honestly believe that he's a good fit for that team because they need with Odell gone, even though he didn't do much on the Browns. I think having Jarvis Landry is a good thing for their wide receiver core because he's been in the league for a little bit now, and he knows the ins and outs and stuff like that of that organization.
Right.
And also, let's talk about Jarvis. If he did go to another team, where do you think he would fit?
That's tough because I don't know. That's a tough one. I could see him going to like maybe the Chargers. I could see the Patriots trading for him, but the Patriots aren't going to trade a top pick for him. And right now, I think he's worth a little bit more than the Patriots normally offer for wide receivers in the league. Um, but that's a really good question. Where do you think he's going?
Honestly, one of the things that first stuck into my head right now when I was thinking about it after that after you were thinking about it, it was the Jets because the Jets need some
Oh,
receivers.
that's fair.
They have Corey Davis is really good, and they found their number one wide receiver in Corey Davis. But I think they need something else, security there. That's like a security blanket, like Mohamed Sanu was for
That's
the
fair.
Falcons when he came. And I think Jarvis Landry would just fit well with a new developing quarterback in Zach Wilson. I think that combination, I think that would work out really well for the Jets, and I think it would boost their offense up a little bit.
Yeah, that's fair. And a lot of times teams they want the big wide receiver because they need to know if Zach Wilson can lead that team. They saw glimpses of what he could do. He's definitely athletic enough to be a quarterback in the NFL. But he was a little sloppy with the football at times, and he uses his legs a little bit too much in a league. I know mobile quarterbacks are very important, but you can't be relying on your quarterback to score 52-yard rushing touchdowns uh, to survive. I mean, that's just not likely.
Yeah, it's mobile quarterbacks have become so common now in this age of the NFL, and you can't expect that from any quarterback either. And that kind of brings me to like the whole NFL in general, and talking about Jarvis Landry and free agency and stuff like that. There's a lot of teams over the cap that might not even be able to afford Jarvis Landry, and I
Right.
have some teams that are here. Ian, I'm gonna ask you. Um, some of these teams are in horrible cap situations, and I just want you to let me know which ones are you think can get under the cap and are actually gonna spend in free agency. So we have the Saints here at $76 million over the cap.
That was a terrible. That's a terrible situation to be in. Um, Sean Payton, great head coach. He's going to have a legacy that's really hard to beat down there in New Orleans. Um, but walking into that situation, you can't. You're literally going to have to tank to get that under control. You're going to have to hope your draft picks play at a high level, and you're going to have to slowly release your veterans.
Yeah, and talking about the Saints actually they kind of made some moves under cap moves this week. They converted $14 million of Michael Thomas's compensation for 2022, and $18 million of their tackle Ryan Ramczyk's compensation for 2022 into signing bonuses, and created $26 million in cap space. So they're down a little bit, and that took a big chunk, which helped a little bit. But they're still
Right?
way over the cap. And
Yeah,
some
that's going to be a tough one to come back from.
some of the other teams that are over cap are Packers, Cowboys, Rams. The Packers is a big one because they're $42 million over the cap, and if they want to pay Aaron Rodgers, I mean that's gonna be just tough in itself to keep that defense as well.
Yeah, I don't see them keeping both Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. I think it's going to be a one or the other kind of deal. But I don't think Devontae Adams is going to want to stay if Aaron Rodgers isn't there.
Yeah, I don't think. I think. I think what rumors were swirling around today or even yesterday, I saw that rumors were swirling around that Aaron Rodgers would agree to a short-term deal with the Packers and might become the highest-paid quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah. One thing on that note, though, the reports of 50 million were squashed on the Pat McAfee show. So he's not looking for 50 million a year, which would have made him the highest paid quarterback next year. He did say that wasn't true. Um, but like he just said, the Packers are so far under the cap. I mean, over the cap. I mean, that it's going to be hard to really keep him.
Yeah, the Packers also made some moves regarding their cap situation, and they converted $11 million of David Bakhtiari's compensation into a signing bonus. Same thing the Saints did with their players. It's what the Packers did, and they're still trying to figure out what they can do to get under the cap. But going to a completely different team on the other side of the league, the Rams, who just won the Super Bowl, their head coach has been getting a lot of media and attention after winning the Super Bowl, and one of those things where is that Amazon actually wanted him to join the Amazon broadcasting team, and Amazon could have gone as high as $100 million just to have Sean McVay with Amazon, and he declined. So I just think that he's there to win another Super Bowl and to just be a head
Yeah.
coach. And returning you that's so crazy that you can turn down $100 million when your salary is $8.5 million for this season. it's probably going to be raised as well.
Yeah, he's definitely getting more money. Um, and I was a little concerned because going into the Super Bowl, there was the rumor of him retiring after the Super Bowl along with Aaron Donald, which we haven't heard anything from either one of them. But Sean McVay, well, we've heard from Sean McVay now. He's coming back. He's coming back, and he's going to take that team. Um, it's going to be interesting to see because, in my opinion, you win the Super Bowl, you're over the cap. You know you're going to have a lot of people retiring. Potentially, Aaron Donald's retiring. Man of the Year, Whitworth is most likely retiring. Um, I mean, you're really good offensive lineman, and you're the greatest player in the NFL at the moment. Um, you guys can debate that if you want, but Aaron Donald retiring, that would be a huge hit to the Rams, along with the cap issues that they have. And in my opinion, it wouldn't have been a bad idea to win that Super Bowl and tell Amazon, bring me my check.
Yeah, it could have been so easy for Sean McVay to do that, and that would change. I think that would change a big part of what they do as Rams and questions. It would obviously bring a lot of questions of if they could win another Super Bowl without Sean McVay. And
Yeah.
you talked about the cap situation as well. I think it's gonna be, as with any team that wins the Super Bowl, it's gonna be hard bringing everybody back, no matter what your cap
Yeah.
situation is. There's some players you're gonna let go. There's some players that are gonna come back. I mean, some players might be done. They might just want a fresh start after winning the Super Bowl as well.
Yeah. Or you got those guys that they finally, a lot of people like OBJ. He wanted a ring. Like he really wanted a ring, and he kept saying it like all year. I want a ring. I want a ring, and he finally got it. So I think maybe his mentality might shift a little bit to where maybe he's not playing for a Super Bowl as much as he is maybe some accolades, or maybe he wants to live in New York again. So he might go up north or something. So I think a lot of those players will. Kind of, like you said, have a different mindset. Some people want the ring again, and they might hop teams. Maybe they'll go to the Chiefs or the Bills or something. Um, but like you said, it's going to be really hard to retain all those guys.
Yeah, talking about players leaving. There's a lot of notable free agents this year, especially in the wide receiver core. And I kind of have a list right here of some big notable ones, including OBJ. And it's gonna be interesting to see if anyone signs him in free agency because he did just tear his ACL, so he's probably gonna be out
Yeah,
for most of this season as well, the upcoming season. And I don't know if anyone's gonna sign him just because of that. But if they do, they probably know they won't be getting him until later in the season.
right.
And some of these names over here are pretty big. We talked about Devonte Adams on the Packers, Allen Robinson, which is a big name that
That's a big one.
that people are trying to figure out. Maybe he goes back to Jacksonville. Who knows? Maybe he goes to someone else.
Yeah, his unfortunately with Allen Robinson, I as a Jaguar fan love him. Wish we would have offered him what he wanted to stay. But we don't know how good Allen Robinson can be. He's had Blake Bortles, Mitchell Trubisky, Andy Dalton, Justin Fields, and I'm sure I'm missing someone in the span of those. That's all he's had throw him the ball.
Yeah. Something interesting I heard about that situation as well, Allen Robinson not doing as much, is that he kind of went on Twitter and said that Matt Nagy was kind of gave him a bigger paycheck, gave him extension, but his receptions and yards it kind of cut in half because he said that Matt Nagy limited him for some reason. Who knows what's it gonna be? But that's what he said on Twitter, and I don't know if that's true or not. But it kind of looks like that because you could see such a big drop off from last year to this year.
Yeah. Like I said, we don't know his ceiling. You know, but we don't know. We know he can be good with subpar quarterback play, but who knows? What if he gets paired up with Justin Herbert? I mean, one of these guys to throw on the ball. The Chargers have a decent amount of cap space, and they're losing Mike Williams this year, which I might have just beat you to that name. But I'll let you keep going on with the names, and
That yeah, that is one of
we'll
the that is one of the names, but there's so many others. Chris Godwin for the Buccaneers.
yes. And I'm gonna interrupt real quick because as a Jaguar fan, I know he's coming off a torn ACL, but here's the deal with torn ACLs. Our GM Trent Baalke, he is in love with players that have torn their ACL. He grabs them and he uses them, and I would love to see Chris Godwin on like a $8 or $9 million a year deal come to Jacksonville.
I think that'd be really good for the Jaguars to have at least a really good solid receiver because DJ Chark can't do it by himself either. So
Yeah, and
really good. He really needs a good receiver.
I don't know if you have him on your list, but DJ
He
Chark is also up,
he's on the free
and we
agency
don't
list as
know.
well.
The Eagles are talking about trying to go for him. He deleted all his stuff from Jaguars on his Instagram, so who knows where DJ Chark's going?
Talking about players deleting stuff off their social media, Russell Wilson had the Seahawks in his bio for the longest time, and recently he just deleted Seahawks off his bio, which is probably might not mean anything. It's probably staying in Seattle, but I don't know. With that, him having Seattle for a while, I mean, and him removing it may mean he might want to be traded, or he might not be on the Seahawks this year.
Yeah, and honestly, I think he's another one of those guys. So he was injured this year, and I actually posted on Twitter my top 10 list of quarterbacks, and we might be able to have some time to do that later. Um, but I left Russell Wilson off my list. I know a lot of people keep him on the top 10 list, and I there's not an it could go either way for me. But the amount of time he missed this year kept him off the top 10 list for me. But in a good situation, give him a better offensive line. We've seen what he can do with a bad offensive line, and only Tyler Lockett. But now he's got DK Metcalf. You know what he can do. He can sling the ball. He's mobile. Give him a decent O line and a decent running game, and he could definitely be back in that conversation.
Yeah, Russell Wilson is just a really good quarterback. You just gotta protect him as well because he's one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the NFL throughout the past 4 years, and it's really easy to see why he would want out because of him getting sacked so much, and they haven't really fixed the line too much. But they do have. There's reason for him to stay. They have a rebuilding defense, and they have DK Metcalf as a wide receiver, and they still have Tyler Lockett. So, I mean, anything's possible for them. And going back to that free agency list, two names for the Cardinals: Christian Kirk and AJ Green. And
Christian Kirk's another one I would like to see come to Jacksonville, but I don't think we spend that much money in free agency.
I'm not 100% sure they bring back AJ Green either. He had a decent season with them, which will lead me to think they bring him back. But there's a chance that he might not be on the Cardinals next season.
Yeah, and the Cardinals are going to be one that we need to keep an eye on. The off season really need to keep an eye on because there's still issues between Kyler Murray and the organization. Kyler Murray's agent came out and released a statement saying basically Kyler Murray wants to be a Super Bowl quarterback. He wants to be a long-term quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals. Lists a bunch of accomplishments on it. But then at the very bottom, they basically say it is now simply up to the Cardinals to decide if they prioritize their rapidly improving 24-year-old, already two-time Pro Bowl quarterback who led the organization from 3 wins before his arrival to 11 wins in their first playoff appearance in 5 years. So basically, they're calling out the Cardinals and saying you're gonna give Kyler Murray the contract he deserves, or you don't want to win playoff games.
That's kind of an interesting situation there because Kyler Murray hasn't came out and said anything himself. His agent kind of came out and said it for him, which he probably told his agent and stuff like that. But you
Right.
know, we never know. We can't really get inside all this stuff, and it's just really interesting that situation because today I saw something. I'm not sure it's 100% true, but I saw somewhere that that someone called Kyler Murray out saying he's soft, and it was just weird to me because it was like a famous one of the well-known football players' father, and he literally called out Kyler Murray saying he's soft and he needs to come out and talk, and show that he's worthy of being the quarterback. So I thought that was really interesting, and I think Kyler Murray is a really good quarterback, and I just think that that their second half collapses in the past 2 seasons. I don't know what's going on, but they gotta fix that. Otherwise, they're not gonna get anywhere. And just to have this drama with Kyler Murray right now, it doesn't help the organization either because they want Kyler Murray on their team. I'm pretty sure the Arizona Cardinals do not want to lose
Yeah.
Kyler Murray.
Yeah, his only knock to Kyler Murray is he's short.
That's literally the only thing. But somehow he makes these back foot throws like across his body and just deep
Yep.
passes that somehow I don't know how he can see, but he somehow makes these perfect deep passes.
I just looked up what you were talking about. Just for context, it was Larry Fitzgerald's father
Yep.
that, that tweeted out, "He's spoiled and brings his Oklahoma offense to the NFL. He has to catch up to great talent. He has never been humbled. Keep working."
Yeah. I just that's he got called out, and I don't know if that's gonna do anything. Who knows? There's I heard some silly rumors, really silly rumors near the end of the season that are 100% not true. But they some people were joking that Kyler Murray he would stay up all night playing video games, and he'd look like he was tired on game day. It was just funny, but 100% not true because he's an NFL quarterback. He knows responsibilities. Hopefully, he knows his responsibilities, and I think he's a really really good player. So
Yeah, and I think a lot of people underestimate how much effort and preparation being in the NFL takes. Um, and you see this when you look at past players who didn't last in the NFL because they weren't able to keep up, because they didn't study, they didn't work hard. And two of the big names for that is Jamarcus Russell and Johnny Manziel. You had two extremely talented college guys who didn't pan out in the NFL because they didn't practice enough. They weren't serious about the game of football. And I think you can really tell when a player isn't fully into it. And I think Kyler Murray isn't in. He's 100% in.
yeah, it takes so much to be an NFL quarterback, so much time, preparation, practice. And speaking about Johnny Manziel, you you could easily tell that he wasn't focused enough to play, and you could tell from his game. You could tell from his on-field experience too. Like when he was on in games in NFL games, like he just looked lost. And there was all these things that he was so distracted with. I think he'd go to parties a lot too, and
Yeah, he was a
that just
partier.
distracted him so much and kind of really hurt him.
Yeah, he had a golden ticket in the NFL and he wasted it.
Hmm. And going back to the free agency list, a big name I that I really want this person to come back is Russell Gage. Russell Gage for my Falcons is a very good receiver that has been going up and up every year he's been playing. And this year, especially with Calvin Ridley out for most of the year, Russell Gage stepped up and made these insane catches. He made some really good security blanket catches. He just became the number one wide receiver for our offense, and he looked good doing it. So I really want the Falcons to re-sign Russell Gage because he's going to be needed if Calvin really doesn't stay on the Falcons.
Yeah, I really enjoyed watching the Falcons offense this year. I think they've got they could use another good playmaker. Once they lost Julio Jones, like they've had receivers step up in production, but they still don't have the guy. And I think Kyle Pitts could be the guy. He's going to be a really good player. Um, and then if they retain Cordero Patterson, he's another guy that can be a really good playmaker for them.
Yeah, the Falcons always somehow find a way. It's crazy to even me that they can somehow find a good offensive weapon that they can use every year for Matt Ryan, and it's crazy because there's so many teams that have trouble finding this number one wide receiver or number one tight end or number one guy on offense that can carry that offense. And look at Matt Ryan is just having a field day with all these receivers and tight ends that are coming his way.
Yeah. Um, so let's let's kind of do something like obviously we haven't done before. This is only episode 2, but if you were the GM of the Atlanta Falcons, you know what pieces you have. You know you're slightly over the cap. Um, what's your main goals for this upcoming year?
First of all, if I was the GM of Atlanta Falcons and we're going to draft, I'm focusing on a pass rusher because we have never had a pass rusher in ages. Dwight Freeney was a really good rusher for us in the Super Bowl year, but he was not in his prime. He was kind of like during the end of his career type of player, and really focusing on this draft on the pass rush would be really good because there's so many pass rushers this year in the NFL draft that if the Falcons don't take and jump on it, then I think it's a missed opportunity already. I know there's some good cornerbacks and some good other defensive players as well. There's a good wide receiver as well, but having that pass rusher that can get pressure on quarterbacks because we never had pressure on quarterbacks in forever. I don't think I've ever seen someone as good forever and on the Falcons. But I think we focus on the pass rush. And this year, Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith, they just had a conference today actually, talking about the future plans for the organization. And one of the things Terry Fontenot said was that when asked about the situation, if the Falcons are a rebuilding team or they want to win now, and he's like, "I want a piece of the cake." Basically, he's going to create an analogy. I want a piece of the cake, too. So that's basically saying that he wants to win, but he understands the situation that the Falcons are in right now, which is they're kind of rebuilding a defense and also trying to win at the same time because they got the offensive weapons to do it, but they also have to look at their defensive players, their offensive line, and things like that a lot of NFL teams have to worry about too. And one thing that got brought up today as well was Matt Ryan, and they fully expect to have Matt Ryan back, and I fully expect Matt Ryan to be back as the Falcons quarterback for this year and even next year, honestly. But to bring that point onto getting to the season, if I was the GM, I bring in Matt Ryan back. I'm somehow finding a way to get Cordero Patterson back. I'm finding a way to get Russell Gage back, making sure that offense is good, and also trying to find a way to get some good free agency linebackers, some free good agency rushers, or even some safeties or something like that, just so we can bolster that defense if we want to try to win this year. And going off of what you just asked me, if you were the GM, Ian, of Jacksonville Jaguars, what would be your focus?
So right now, so today we just re-signed Tyler Shatley, offensive lineman. He's more of a backup, but he's played some very good snaps in the past. He can play every position on the offensive line. So the fact that we just got him on a 2-year deal, is awesome. But we have a huge task up ahead of us. Our offensive line, our left tackle, and our left guard are both up for free agency this year. However, last year we drafted Walker Little as a left tackle, but also Evan Neal could be taken with the first overall pick at left tackle. So I personally would like to see us draft maybe Hutchinson and let Walker Little move up in the depth chart. You spent a third round pick on him, I think. You gave him a whole year to develop. Let him get some snaps. I think maybe in the off season you try to get. We have a lot of cap space, so I would love to see like Chris Godwin, um, Brandon Scherf. Would love to see him on the offensive line. Um, and I would like to see us go after Mike Gesicki at tight end. We have the cap space to do all this, and on the big thing is getting Trevor Lawrence weapons because last year the wide receiver drops were terrible. We had receivers running into each other on routes. It was terrible to watch. And we get Travis Etienne back. We get James Robinson back. We're going to have a good backfield for Trevor to not have to throw the ball 30 times a game. If you can get some protection, get some weapons on offense, I'd like to see us draft one or two edge rushers because if you can pair up someone with Josh Allen, the defensive line will be totally different. Um, let's see. What else would I do? I think that's the big thing. Bolster the offensive line, get Trevor weapons, and draft a couple edge rushers.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
yeah.
I totally agree with you. You know everything about your Jaguars, and yeah, that's exactly what they need because Trevor Lawrence can't be throwing 30 times a game. Like that's insane just for a rookie quarterback as well. And
Yeah, I'm still super excited about Doug Peterson. Um, I I have no idea how this upcoming season is going to go, but it can't possibly be worse than what I just watched with Urban Meyer. It can't be worse. He's the worst NFL coach in history.
the worst head coach in NFL history. That's a,
One
a
hundred
pretty big
percent.
statement. Okay. Talking about the offensive line though, both our teams need offensive line help, but the Bucks they just lost one of their offensive linemen, Ali Marpet, and he announced his retirement this week, and he was only 28 years old, which is crazy for
Yeah,
a lineman because linemen they usually go into like they're 35 or 38 even, and Andrew Woodward being an example 40 or higher than 40.
and not only did he retire, Ryan Jensen is on a free agent this year. Their center. So, well, I mean, and you're over the cap already.
Yeah, they definitely kept those people in place for Brady so that they could go win a championship, in which they did. They accomplished that goal to win a championship, and they did that exactly that.
I don't want
And
to keep beating a dead horse, but I can't believe Tom Brady retired. I don't want to go back to the conversation really because we've already been there, done that. But he just threw for 5,000 yards.
it's crazy because I honestly thought he was gonna go a couple more years. Honestly, I really didn't expect him to retire. I was like, okay, Tom Brady's retiring. I'm okay with that. But
I'm okay with it too. Like it's a hard conversation though because one you don't want to keep seeing Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, but two, I'd love to live in the era that someone won 10 Super Bowls. I'd be able to tell when I'm 80. I'd be able to talk about that.
yeah, him having 7 rings is I don't think a quarterback. I know how good Patrick Mahomes is, but I don't think he's gonna get 7 rings. Honestly, I without a doubt in my mind, I don't think he's gonna get 7 rings. He might get 2 or 3. That's honestly what I'm thinking he gets throughout his whole career. But I don't think Patrick Mahomes gets 7. But talking about Brady, he's a couple more years was what in my brain I was thinking. I was like, okay, we got to deal with Tom Brady a couple more times.
Yeah.
So hopefully someone finds a way to beat him in the playoffs or something like that. But to just go up and retire when you know you just had led the NFL in touchdowns and passing yards, that's just crazy to me. When you're at the top of your game.
Yeah, he was like, and I know he said he wasn't going to retire. Like he didn't want to go out on top. He wanted to digress a little bit, and I feel like in my opinion, I understand why Aaron Rodgers won the MVP, but Tom Brady could have won it. If I was a voter for the MVP, I probably would have voted Tom Brady over Aaron Rodgers. If Aaron Rodgers didn't throw like 4 interceptions in game one and have to miss a game because of COVID, I would have voted Aaron Rodgers 100%. But because those two things happened, Tom Brady would have been my vote for MVP. So it's crazy to me that he retired.
It's it's honestly something that Buccaneers fans are gonna be sad about. They're gonna be kind of worrying now since their biggest piece of that team now is gone. And
Yeah.
talking about have teams that are having to struggle or having a big change in their organization, we talked about Brian Flores last week, and there was an interesting stat I saw while we were away on at home, and it was that there's two teams that have zero playoff wins in the last 20 years, and Ian, you want to take a guess who one of those teams are?
Off the top of my head, I would think the Cowboys.
And so the two teams are the Detroit Lions and
Okay,
the
that,
Miami
that one I should have
Dolphins.
got. Oh wow,
The Miami Dolphins are 0-3
I would
in playoffs in the
go
last
ahead.
20
Yeah,
years.
I wouldn't have guessed the Dolphins. I should have guessed the Lions. I don't know why I didn't do the Lions. I don't know why I said the Cowboys, but I just hate the Cowboys. But the Dolphins, I like, and you got rid of Brian Flores.
That's why this stat is so interesting. Is because Brian Flores has two straight winning seasons, and he probably would have led you to the playoffs if he got another shot. Because they do have some pieces there. Only if Tua plays well. That's the only thing.
Yeah, Tua's a big factor in that.
But
But he was winning games in spite of Tua.
yeah, even with Ryan Fitzpatrick, he was winning some games. They still went to the playoffs that year when they were mixed matching
Yeah,
with
there was
Fitzpatrick.
people saying that Ryan Fitzpatrick should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I know. It was so crazy. They were overhyping Fitzpatrick so much when he's a backup quarterback. He's always been a backup quarterback, but he can do good. He can play good.
He has spurts. Like I don't know how to describe him. He's his own guy, I guess. He likes to he likes to play good for 2 games, play bad for a couple, get benched, come back in, relieve, and then at the end of the season play his heart out and get another contract.
Yeah, it's just it's just crazy that the Dolphins are one of those teams that with that stat they haven't won a playoff game in 20 years. 20 years. That's 2 decades. That's like most of
Uh,
both of our lives.
I was gonna say, yeah, we're what, both 24.
Yeah, or yeah, basically.
You're about to turn 24. I've been 24 for a couple months now, but
Yeah, I'm about to turn
that's
24.
that's our whole lives.
Yeah.
I don't remember when I was 4.
Yeah, no, I don't remember. I only remember like a big event that in like when I was younger, but that's about it.
I feel like when I hear stories, like I remember the stories, but I don't remember the time. So like my parents would tell me stories of when I was 4, and I remember those stories, but I don't remember living in that moment.
Yeah, the only thing I remember is we went to Switzerland and I went sledding on snow. That's literally the only thing because I was scared to go on the slide at first because they had like a hill of snow and I was scared to go slide down it. And then I just remember my dad putting me on the sled and pushing me down, and I just had so much fun. I kept wanting to do it over and over and over again.
Jeez.
And going back to the NFL now,
Yeah.
um,
It's okay to go off topic
yeah,
sometimes.
yeah, we're chill. Definitely. If you guys want us to talk about anything specific, do let us know in the comment section. We want to thank you guys for the support. Like the support's been crazy on our first podcast and the intro video as well. So thank you guys
Yeah.
for that. Um, Talking about a free agent as well, going back to free agency. One big free agent name is Calais Campbell, former Jaguar,
Oh,
and
I would love to see him come back.
there were four potential destinations that NFL rumors posted that could be where Calais Campbell heads, and those teams are the Raiders, the Niners, and just talking about the Niners, if they added Calais Campbell to that already amazing defense and an already amazing defensive line, that's just over overkill kind of on that
Yeah,
defensive line. And then the Jaguars are also one of the teams. It would be good if the Jaguars would like him back. I'm pretty sure. Jaguars would
yeah,
like
we
him.
would.
And then also,
He was the one guy that we got rid of, like when we were doing the start of the rebuild, when we were releasing all our players because nobody wanted to play here. He was the one guy where everybody was like, "Man, why'd we get rid of him?" Him and AJ Boye, those were the two people that I was like, "Why are we getting rid of these guys?" But I understand now that we don't have Trevor Lawrence if we have those guys on the team because they win us a game.
the AJ Boye and Calais Campbell, dude, I remember that Jaguars team that made it to the AFC Championship and almost beat Brady. They were going headed to the Super Bowl. I was like so excited because I've
I
just been
know.
with the Jaguars my whole life, basically down here. I've been to so many games. I've been to more Jaguar games than Falcon games in my lifetime, and it's just crazy to see that just disappear so quickly.
Very quickly.
And
That
speaking
was
of,
a complete destruction of a team.
that's just tough because they had such a good team. If they had a quarterback with that team, oh
I
man,
know.
they would have won that Super Bowl. I'm almost 100% sure.
Yeah, they would have. They would have beat the Eagles.
And that last team that Calais Campbell might be headed to is the Dolphins, which we talked about in the last podcast, but we're going to talk about right now again because a very interesting thing happened this week, and it was that the Dolphins apparently were planning to pair up Tom Brady and Sean Payton on their team. And I just think that's so crazy if they could have actually done that if Brian Flores stayed on the team and made that happen. Pairing a generational coach and a generational QB, or not even generational, all Hall of
All
Fame or
time.
Hall of Fame
Yeah.
all time quarterback talent. That would be that kind of would be crazy and over. I think Brady wins another two Super Bowls if that happens.
Yeah, their defense is good. Their offense is good. They've got a good team. They're missing a piece or two. I mean, one of the pieces is probably quarterback. We'll find out this year. Um, I'm not the biggest Tua fan. I think I'm not saying he doesn't deserve the shot. I'm not saying that at all. I don't think he's the guy. I really don't.
Yeah, and talking about this Dolphin stuff. Brian Flores situation. He headed to the Steelers, but that's literally all we heard this week. There's
Yeah, we
nothing
haven't
else,
heard anything.
nothing anything else on the situation at all. So I think it's probably gonna take some time till we hear more information about that. But if you guys want to keep updated, make sure you follow the podcast and our Twitter and our TikTok and stuff like that.
Yeah, we're constantly posting the news on our Twitter and on TikTok, especially TikTok.
Yeah, we post so much on TikTok that you guys won't miss a beat. And
Yeah.
go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say one more topic I'd like to get before we wrap up the show. Who are the best teams going into next year? We'll start on the AFC side because the AFC side's stacked.
So that whole AFC North, except the Steelers, I think all three of those, the Bengals, the Ravens, and the Browns. I think They have a
Yeah,
shot. They have a good
they're
shot at the playoffs. But talking about the
yeah.
best team, the Ravens could be that top team, and the Bengals.
Yeah, the Ravens to me, I think that whole division's good, and I know the Bengals just played in the Super Bowl. I'm not disregarding that, but I don't know if the Bengals make it there if the Ravens aren't hurt. The Ravens were hurt all year long, and they still almost made it to the playoffs.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson led that team to almost playoff win. He was injured for a lot of for a good part of the season as well, and they
And
still
they
almost
lost
made the
their number
playoffs.
one pick. They lost their whatever, their first round pick in the preseason. And then every single one of their running backs went down in the preseason with ACL injuries
That's just bad
or
luck.
MCLs
That's
or
really
whatever.
bad luck to lose all your running backs like that.
So I think they have a top three tight end, and they have a lot of speed on the team. And I know I made a comment earlier about like mobile quarterbacks not really making it in the league, but Lamar Jackson's an exception to that. You have to game plan completely differently. And if you decide that you're going to contain Lamar Jackson, his arm has gotten way better since he's entered the league, and he can throw the deep ball now.
Yeah, if Lamar Jackson's just been improving and he can throw a deep ball now, and he's been gotten more accurate, so that's kind of a scary thought because he's the fastest quarterback in the NFL right now, and just him being accurate with the football as well, being kind of an accurate Cam Newton but faster.
Yeah, faster.
It's
Yeah,
crazy. I'm not trying to compare Lamar Jackson Cam Newton because Lamar Jackson is just on a different level
he's
than
his
Cam Newton.
own level. Yeah,
Yeah, but Lamar Jackson, if he improves again next year, I mean, watch out. That Ravens team can do anything.
yeah. Especially Harbaugh at coach. He's top five head coach in the NFL right now.
Another team in the AFC, we're going to the AFC South, is the Titans. I think regardless that they lost this year off of they shouldn't have lost this game. It was supposed to be go down, win the game off a field goal, but
Yeah,
Ryan Tannehill threw that interception. But I think they still, with Derrick Henry back and everything, they still go up top the AFC South, and I think they win that division again.
yeah. I think that's fair because I don't know what the Colts are going to do at quarterback. Um, there's a ton of rumors about Carson Wentz leaving or getting traded. Not leaving, but there's going to have to be a team to eat that cap up. So it's going to cost a lot. It's going to cost Carson Wentz and a first or second round pick, or like a sixth or seventh round pick. I mean, it's going to be really hard to do that trade. And then you've got the Texans. I don't think they're going anywhere. I think they're still in that rebuild session because of Deshaun Watson. You don't know what's going to happen. If they get 3 first round picks for him, I might change my opinion on that. Um, and then we've got the Jaguars, who obviously they only won a couple games last year, but they were in a lot of games. I don't think people realize they were in a lot of games. You lost to the Bengals in the final second with a field goal. Arizona, they were up by a score at halftime. They had a lot of games they were close. So I do think with the talent on the team, and if they only get better, plus they have a better head coach now, I could see them winning 6 or 7 games. And in the AFC South, 10 games can win it. 10 games can win the division. So I'm not going to be that one fan that's like, oh, we're making a Super Bowl run this year. But I think they slightly have a chance
I think
next
the
year.
Jaguars are going to win more than 4 games. I think so.
Yeah, they definitely win
I
more than
think they win
4.
7. Honestly, if I'm being
Yeah,
honest.
I'm cool with 6 or 7 as a fan of the Jaguars. As long as I see them get better, honestly, I'm cool with 5 wins. But they got to look good in those 11 losses. And I would love to see them win 9 or 10. I could see it happening because they do have the coaching staff now, and they still have Trevor Lawrence. and they have James Robinson and Travis Etienne coming back from an injury. So, and they have a lot of cap space. I know we just got done talking about it, but they could sneak in. That's my hot take. Jaguars win the AFC South.
Okay, so we're gonna be going to the AFC East now. We've done the AFC South. We've done the AFC North. We talked about the Steelers at the beginning of the podcast. So if you guys missed anything on that, hop over to the beginning of the podcast. We did talk about the Steelers there. Going to the AFC East, the Bills. I 100% think they win that division again. But if Mac Jones gets a little better offensive line and that defense plays like they played throughout most of the year, I mean, I think that they honestly could win that division. I mean, just with that coaching staff, I think it's just hard not to count out Bill Belichick.
I agree. I know a lot of people. We haven't really seen. I take that back. People think that Bill Belichick was what he is because of Tom Brady, but look at what he did with Cam Newton. They won 9 games with Cam Newton. They made the playoffs with a rookie.
Yeah, that just shows how good of a coach Bill Belichick is. I think they both helped each other, Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. I don't think
Yeah, they
one
were
made
a
the
good
other.
duo.
They were a
Yeah,
great
they were a
duo.
very
Yeah.
good duo.
And I
Just
think
like the
that,
PI podcast.
yeah, which, yep, exactly. Check out, go subscribe. The Bills, though, they have such a good quarterback in Josh Allen. If he keeps up his play next year and goes off next year, I think he has a chance. If he plays like he did in the playoffs, he has a chance of winning MVP. Honestly, one of the hot takes that
Yeah,
I'm saying is that Josh Allen wins MVP. But who knows? He could digress. Who knows? Because Josh Allen, he's a really good quarterback, and he showed that in that playoff game against the Chiefs. But you got to look at it through the whole season too. He was prone to making some mistakes as well during the season.
hmm
I'm gonna bring up that Falcons Bills game near the end of the season. He threw 3 interceptions, 3 horrible interceptions that probably he shouldn't have thrown. They still won that game because our defense is horrible, but um, they you can't have that mistakes happen. And talking about he played well. Josh Allen did played well throughout the whole season, and he played even better in the playoffs. So I fully expect him to do really good next year.
Yeah, speaking of the mistakes, the biggest mistake he made last year was losing to the Jacksonville Jaguars. He didn't score a touchdown. Okay, he didn't score a touchdown. He got sacked by Josh Allen. He got intercepted by Josh Allen, and got a fumble recovered by Josh Allen. So the Josh Allen on the Jacksonville Jaguars is better than the Buffalo Bills Josh Allen. That's a hot take I'll die on.
Also, I think the Dolphins could sneak in if they get another good head coach. I know Brian Flores leaving is a big part. They have a lot of drama going on right now, but I still think if Tua plays well and their defense kind of plays tight defense and works out as they intend, then I think they sneak in the playoffs. And
That's fair.
finally, the AFC West: the Chiefs, the Raiders, the Broncos. And the last team in that division is the Chargers. That's such a good division.
Yeah,
Anything could
that's the
happen with
best
that
division
division.
in football for me.
Okay.
I know it's tough. I know the NFC West is also like really good, but the AFC West to me is where it's at.
I think the Chiefs still go out and win that division again. The
Yeah,
only
Justin Herbert needs a defense. His defense is terrible.
yeah, and the last game of the season, I was watching that final game, the Raiders Chargers, to make it to playoffs, and it was funny because one of the things they brought up in that game was that one of the Chargers D tackles, the D tackle brought up that hey, we could be like the 2007 Giants and go make the Super Bowl when we're like have 9 wins. I was like, oh my god, don't are you really going there? And then they lose that game because then they got gashed in the running game too.
that that really reminds me of how good this season was.
Yeah, that whole division was good The whole division was decent this year, and to have the Raiders and Chargers being a win and in game, that that actually was kind of really fun to watch because they have a lot of good good players on all 4 of those teams.
Right.
And going
All
over
right.
to the
Before
NFC. Oh, okay.
oh,
Yeah, sure.
before we move to the NFC, do you think Derek Carr is a top 10 quarterback?
I had to look at my list real quick. Just kidding. I didn't have to look at my list. No, I don't think so. I think he's top 15, but not top 10.
Okay.
Based on how
Leave
I
down in
have
the
it.
comments below.
I may be forgetting someone in my list, but
Leave your comments down below on where do you think Derek Carr should be. Is he top 10? Is he top 15? I think you're disrespecting Derek Carr if you go any lower than 15.
oh yeah, for sure. I
Um,
agree with you there.
like that's I think he's like borderline. I think if you have him at 9, 10, 11, or 12, it's hard to argue.
Yeah, because Derek Carr is he knows how to play. He has a good arm too. He can throw
And
those
look
deep
at
balls.
so like if you look at his talent, he's good. You know, I'm not saying he's a elite athlete or anything like that, but he's good. And look at what he did with his head coach, like getting resigning. His number one pick is in jail. Who's he throwing the ball to? He had Deshaun Jackson for a little bit. Oh, Renfro, I meant.
Hunter Renfro
I
had a
forgot
big
about
year.
Renfro. And Darren Waller, I
Yeah,
guess.
he had
I
some
guess
he
he's
has
got
some
some.
weapons, but still, with everything that happened on with the organization, all that drama, it's hard to overcome that.
So, out of all the big names, you know, you got Russell Wilson, you got Jimmy G. If I'm the Steelers, I go after Derek Carr.
Oh, that is very interesting because I don't know if the Raiders actually do trade him. I'm not sure that
I
Raiders
don't
trade him.
know. I don't think so. But they could because they also have Marcus Mariota who can start, I think.
He can start. He actually.
I don't think he
I'm
will.
just not.
I think that'd be a dumb decision.
The problem with Mariota is that he had 6 years to prove himself on the Titans, or 5 if I'm not mistaken, and he just couldn't develop for whatever reason. He just couldn't
Yeah.
reach that next level of being a starter, a franchise QB for that team, which is kind of sad because I thought that Marcus Mariota, he looked good. I think he had some really good games as a Titan as well, especially that comeback, a 21-3 comeback against the Chiefs in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And yeah, so going over to the NFC side now, um, we'll start off with the NFC South. Um, that's honestly a toss-up division because I think the Falcons. I think we somehow win the division just because the
Yeah, that's
Bucks,
fair.
the Bucks, Saints, and Panthers, they don't have a quarterback. Jameis Winston might play good, but I still think we win that division just because of everything that happened this year and everybody leaving.
Well, the Jameis Winston thing's interesting because he's obviously coming back from his injury, but there's rumors that he goes back to the Buccaneers.
Mm, okay, that would be very interesting for the Bucks, though. I mean, I don't know
I
if they
mean,
take
they
the
have the
chance.
cap issues. They have the cap issues, but I mean, he's not going to win a lot of money
Yeah, I I
to
don't
to
know.
get back to starting.
Yeah, I don't know if Bruce Arians likes Jameis Winston that much.
Yeah, well, he does like Blaine Gabbert, so but again, it might not be his decision.
True. That's just that's an interesting one because he did play well when he started. James Winston did. So
Yeah, he had the 30 interceptions, but I think people I know that's like bad. I know that's bad. Like I'm not trying to say that that's not bad. It's bad. But he threw for 5,000 yards and over 30 touchdowns. That part's not bad.
that's not an easy task to do either. Having 5,000 yards, but having 30 interceptions kind of tarnished that image, tarnished that accomplishment for a lot of people.
But if let's just say he only threw 15 interceptions that year, okay? And I know there's not like a what if situation here, but if he only throws 15 interceptions, he breaks every passing record in the NFL if he only throws 15 interceptions.
And I think a lot of people praise him as well. I definitely probably wouldn't have praised him because I kind of know Jameis Winston because we played against him so much, watching Falcons games,
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of know he's kind of like an okay quarterback. He's not the quarterback, but I still think that would have been impressive.
Yeah,
And yeah, the NFC South. I think I'm gonna go. I think the best team in that division is the Falcons. If they
I
actually
agree.
get
I agree.
if they get a decent defensive player in the draft, especially, and if we can that offensive line plays well, then definitely I think Falcons win that division. Going to the NFC North now, we get the Packers. If who knows if they get Aaron Rodgers back, and then we got the Lions, the Bears, and the Vikings. Do you see the Vikings making a push?
Um, I could see it happening. Here's the thing: they have an offensive-minded head coach now, and they just hired the Rams offensive coordinator O'Donnell McDonald or something.
Something like that.
Kevin O'Donnell, Kevin O'Connell. Sorry. Um, so it's gonna be interesting to see what they do now. They've always kind of been like a defensive team, in my opinion. Um, I mean, they've got Kirk Cousins. He's not gonna light up the scoreboard, but he's gonna make the smart decision. In my opinion, if I had to compare um the guy I'm just talking about, wow, how does his name leave my
Kevin
head?
O'Connell.
Uh, no, the quarterback, Kirk
Oh, Kirk
Cousins.
Cousins.
If I had to compare him to someone, it would be like Jimmy G, kind of. These guys aren't freakishly athletic. They're not gonna throw for 600 yards a game. They're only gonna score the bare minimum amount of points, most likely, and all their games won are gonna be really close because they're not lighting up the scoreboard. Unless Dalvin Cook has a 6 touchdown game, which isn't a Kirk Cousins thing, because that's a Dalvin Cook thing. But you got to remember, they also have Adam Thielen. They've got Justin Jefferson. I mean, they've got Dalvin Cook, and the backup running back there is really good too.
Yeah, Alexander Madison. Um,
Madison, yeah.
yeah, he's being proven to be a really good running back, a second running back, or backup quarterback for that team. And Kirk Cousins, I think he had a really good season, and it just flew under the
Yeah.
radar for some reason. I don't know what that is. It's because people are looking at big names, obviously like Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, but he had a really good season and not a lot of interceptions, and he just
Yeah,
had a
he's
great
very
season.
safe.
Yeah, great season under the radar. That's all I'm gonna say about the Vikings. I think that they, they should have actually tried made the playoffs this year. If I don't know what happened this year, they still had that defense. They still had Mike Zimmer. I think Mike Zimmer kind of lost his way at the end there, but
Yeah.
I think they should have at least made the playoffs this year. But next year, who knows? With the new coach, maybe they just compete if the Packers don't
That's
have Aaron
an
Rodgers.
that's also a division that's hard to tell too because you've got the Bears that are rebuilding. Um, we'll see how Justin Fields does under a new head coach.
Yeah. And now, moving on, we go to the NFC West, and that includes. I don't know. My mind's drawing a blank. I know this. The NFC West with the 49ers, the Cardinals, the Seahawks, and the Rams.
Yeah, this is the other division that I think is like a top. Like if you've got the AFC, what did I say, West on the other side, that's like, in my opinion, this is the other side that's like the best NFC division. You got the AFC West and the NFC West, who are your best two divisions.
Yeah. This for this upcoming season, I honestly think that the I don't know. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I think the Cardinals win the division, but it's gonna be the Rams second, the Seahawks third. Just because,
Oh, you think the 49ers fall all the way down to last?
possibly just because of their quarterback situation.
Yeah, if they go with Trey Lance, that's a fair take. It could be one of them years that's not like great. I could see them. So this past year, the Rams went 12-5, the Cardinals went 11-6, the 49ers went 10-7, and the Seahawks went 7-10. I could see the 49ers and Seahawks flipping.
I honestly think that 49ers also they could very well be the second seed. second team in that division, second best team in that division.
Yeah, that's going to be a hard one. It all depends on the quarterback situation for both those teams.
Yeah, it is.
Or not, yeah, for 49ers and the Seahawks, because we don't know if Russell's playing there.
Yeah, it's still very early to tell right now because there's still a lot of time in the off season, stuff like that. So with that, we go to the NFC least, as people say, the last couple of years. They've been calling this division the NFC least because, I mean, there's kind of really good opinions on that because, yeah, the last 3 years, it's been nothing but subpar play from all four teams: the Cowboys, the Redskins, the Giants, and the Eagles. There was 2 seasons, I think 2 seasons in a row, where they all went under 500, and one of those teams don't make the
Yeah.
playoffs.
Yeah, I think it was last year. Maybe the year before. It was
before,
2020 or
for sure.
2021, yeah.
Yeah, and I think honestly for that division, I think the Cowboys do win that division again.
Yeah, this one's a tough one for me. I think the Cowboys are kind of being held back by Mike McCarthy. I think they've got a really good offense. They possibly might be losing Michael Gallup. He's a free agent this year. But I don't think Ezekiel Elliott is as good as what the Cowboys fans are holding him to. I don't think he's a top 10 running back. I think Tony Pollard is a better running back than Ezekiel Elliott.
Ooh, that's a okay, okay. That's a hot take. Dang.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'll die on this hill.
yeah. So yeah, we so basically we kind of went over all teams in NFL a little bit there. So
Yeah.
so if you guys want us to go more specific on your favorite team, let us know. We delved into all of them a little bit at least.
I forgot. I wanted to talk about the Giants a little bit because
Mm-hmm.
they just hired Brian DeBoll. So they've got the old Bills offensive coordinator who obviously knew what he was doing with Josh Allen. Because Josh Allen, if you remember, his rookie year wasn't great. And now he's coming in to Daniel Jones, who hasn't played great at all, really. I mean, but he is athletic. He is athletic. I'll give it to him. He's actually mobile. Um, and this, I keep jumping all over the place because like the Giants are another team I follow. But Giants today at the combine stuff, they said that they're open to trading anybody on the roster. He actually came out and said those exact words pretty much. And that comes up with Saquon Barkley. They mentioned Saquon Barkley, and he said he'd be open to dealing him as well.
That's very, very interesting. And if you guys didn't know, Ian was actually a Giants fan back
Back in the day.
back in the day, and he kind of turned into a Jaguar fan. So he, I don't know. You can't
Yeah,
say
that
you can't say bandwagon because he went to a worse team, or
yeah.
or they're both kind of worse now. But
So growing up, my parents were Giants fans. So like I kind of got roped into the Giants because of that. But like around the 2010, 2011 season, I got to watch the Giants beat New England a second time. And it felt weird for me to cheer for the Giants because one, I was only cheering for them because of my mom. So I turned into a Jaguar fan around that time, but I've always watched Jaguar football because I live here. So like I've been to games in like 2006, and that's why the Jaguars are my team. Even though the Giants were my first team for a while, the Jaguars were my second team. So they just kind of took over as my first team. Up in the Minshew jersey.
I like the Minshew jersey; it's awesome. Um, and another team in that division, the Eagles. Actually, I think Jalen Hurts steps up a little bit next year. I think he could actually.
Yeah,
I think he actually wins some games next year. I'm
he
not.
showed flashes.
Yeah, I'm not completely sold on their defense as much. I know they have a decent defense, But I'm not sold on their defense to be like top tier ish defense level, and they still need to work with
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts a little bit.
Yeah,
So
that's definitely fair.
we tried to talk about all the teams, but going back with Washington as well. Washington football team. I don't know if Taylor Heineke's their guy. He looks decent, but Taylor Heineke, I think he can be a quarterback, but I think honestly he's a back quarterback. I don't think he's a starter.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Hopefully Ryan Fitzpatrick comes back and can like teach him. I guess that's a good word to say. Um, let him develop a little bit more because Taylor kind of got thrown into it a little bit as well. I mean, he got to sit most of his rookie season, and he only had to play in that one playoff game. And then everyone was like, "Oh wow, who's this guy?" And then last year he was in. I just think he needs a little bit more work.
Same. I totally agree with you. I think Taylor Heineke needs a little work. He showed flashes this year, and where he can be great, especially the game against the Buccaneers, where he went down, led the team to make that uh,
Yeah.
game-winning drive just to put that game out of reach and win that game. Um, yeah. So, um, last thing I want to do. I know you talked about you wanting to do it, but I think we should. I think we should name our top 10 quarterbacks list, but leave it up for debate till next podcast.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's fine. Let me pull mine up.
So I'm gonna go ahead and say mine, and then I'll ask you yours.
Okay. Yeah. That's fine.
So my list is pretty simple, basically. I think I left someone out. I'm not 100% sure. You guys probably will let me know. But and I did rank Matt Ryan pretty high because honestly, I don't think he's as bad as people say because I've been watching him my whole life, um, and watch every single thing he does, watching every single Falcon game for the last 6 years. So, yeah, just about Matt Ryan. So I have Patrick Mahomes at number one. I have Aaron Rodgers at two. Then Josh Allen at three. Number four, Russell Wilson. Number five, Kyler Murray. Number six, Matt Ryan. Number seven, Lamar Jackson. Number eight, Justin Herbert, which may be high, a little more higher than, a little too high in my opinion. Number nine is Joe Burrow after the amazing season he had, and number 10, I have Matthew Stafford there, and I'm probably
All
missing some
right.
names.
So I have my list up, and ours are kind of similar. We have all the same names in the top 10,
Except for Carr.
except, yeah, I have Carr in the top 10, and I don't have Lamar Jackson. And I know someone's going to roast me for that, but I'll let you know at the end of my list why I have him like that. And I might change one around on the spur of the moment because I kind of think I got Carr too high, but I'll switch it. So I got Patrick Mahomes at number one. I've got Josh Allen number two, Aaron Rodgers number three, Justin Herbert number four, Dak Prescott number five. Oh, that's a name we don't have in common.
Oh, yep.
Uh, Joe Burrow at six, Kyler Murray at seven. This is where I'm going to change because I have Derek Carr at number eight, but I'm going to put Matthew Stafford at number eight. I'm going to put Matt Ryan at number nine, and I'm putting Derek Carr at number 10. Now, my honorable mentions, I have two, is Russell Wilson and Lamar Jackson. If Lamar Jackson and Russell Wilson don't get hurt, they're in my top 10.
Yeah, that's a pretty good list. I think we both
And
got
now
pretty
we're
good
not
ones.
going to discuss it. We're not going to talk about it anymore. We're going to talk about it on the next podcast. So you have to like, you have to subscribe, you have to turn the notifications on, you have to go follow our TikTok, you have to go follow our Twitter in order to find the next episode.
Yeah, so definitely thank you guys for watching this podcast. If you stuck throughout the whole podcast, thank you so much. We appreciate you guys' support. We are on YouTube if you guys want to see our faces, and we are also on Spotify, Anchor. We're also on Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts. The first episode is not on Google Podcast and Apple Podcast because I still had to set it up. But starting with episode 2, this episode, it will be on Spotify, Anchor, Google, and iTunes. So definitely, if you guys use any of those, definitely check out podcast PI Podcast on any of those platforms. Definitely check it out. But we want to thank you guys so much for watching the PI Podcast. We're definitely having fun with this. So definitely let us know what you guys want us to talk about if you guys have any ideas or just some suggestions as well. Because we kind of make a list of what we want to talk about. And we also, as Ian did today, we got some comments from our first episode and we did that first. So if you guys have suggestions, let me know. And Ian, anything you'd like to add?
No, actually, I think that was it. This is another really good episode. It's so fun to do. Like, I don't think I realized how fun this was going to be. I always enjoy talking about football, but doing it in front of a camera and like with like someone I went to school with like for a long time, like it couldn't be better. Couldn't be better.
Same. Like, this is just so much fun. I always want to talk about football. Just, like, spread it out because I became a fan of football in 2011, 2012, and I've just known so much more since 2012, and I know so much now that I never knew in 2012. But yeah,
Yeah. I'm the same way though. I really like talking about football and you can't always talk about it on the internet, like typing it because people like come back and troll you and stuff or like they call your take stupid, but like this way, we'll read the comments and like you might call us idiots in the comments or something, but like at least I can go this whole hour and 20 minutes talking without being told I'm stupid.
oh yeah, definitely. One of the TikToks I made, if you, this someone commented, I made a mistake by saying Jarvis Landry for most of his career was on the Browns, but I honestly think Jarvis Landry was on the Browns for a good amount of years actually. But someone called
It's
me
probably like half.
probably like half his career, but I know he was on Dolphins as well. I'm not. Well, was he only on the Dolphins and Browns? I think he was.
I think so,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, uh, yeah, just it's crazy what people do on the internet. People will call you whatever. So I mean, let us know what your guys' opinions. We did rank our quarterback list. We're not gonna talk about it till next episode. So like Ian said, make sure you check out our TikTok. Make sure you check out our Twitter, PI Podcasts on both, and all Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcast, and Apple Music Podcasts. But thank you guys for watching the podcast, and we'll see you guys on episode 3.